welcome to another edition of the Outpost. My name is Mike Hert. I'm flying single today. I got a cold, so I may lose my voice. But the goal of the Outpost is to share the mission of the disabled American veterans. And we have a very strong chapter here, DAV Chapter 17 here in Winnebago County. And we are very fortunate that we have Oshkosh Community Media helps us out with this show, and we're able to relay that mission onto the local community. Today we have two very special guests. We have Dave Steinert, the Vice Commander of the Oshkosh Patriotic Council, and then we have an old friend, Rod Collada, who is a past chapter commander for DAV Chapter 17, plus is a very integral part of one of the programs, which is called Reading of the Names. So, as I continue to lose my voice, but for us veterans, Memorial Day is a very special time. You know, and in some ways for us, Memorial Day is every day, just about. But it's a very special time that we share with the public. And what we want to be able to do today is to be able to share with our viewers the times, the dates, the activities, some of the things that happen to make this occur so that you can join us on Memorial Day. So first off, Jake, if you could pop up the slide for Thursday, I believe it's May 26th at Lakeview. I always like to share this real quick. If you're not able to make Memorial Day and you're going to be having a 4-day weekend somewhere, there is a nice program that's done at Lakeview Memorial Park. A lot of the veterans do attend this. They do a nice program Thursday, May 25th, 6 p.m. It's at the chapel. You don't have to call in. Everybody's welcome. And also they have a very nice spread of food, if I may say. And so that's an option that is happening. Let's get to the Oshkosh Patriotic Council and specifically the activities there. So if we could pop up the next slide. Things begin in Oshkosh at 7 in the morning with the reading of the names. And I am going to turn that over to Rod, if you could kind of walk us through reading of the names, what it's about, and its origins, it's unique.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It occurs on the corner of Ohio and 11th Avenue at the South Park Veterans Memorial Park there. It was originally designed by and conceived by Larry Mead, who went to the city council, and after a long persistence, he finally got it approved, and he started doing the event all by himself. He funded it all by himself, getting the flags and getting donations of flower arrangements to be there. He picked up the speaker systems and everything else he needed in order to do the event. Eventually, he got a little very, physically and emotionally about it, and he asked the DAV Chapter 17 to take it over. He asked other people as well, but we decided to step up because the DAV hadn't anything on Memorial Day that was only theirs. And we took this as an opportunity to show that it was only ours. We've helped develop it and stuff like that. It started out with the reading of the names of everyone lost from Oshkosh, from World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. Eventually, Larry came up with the idea to put up the flag for every service up there, and we added in the Merchant Marines because we knew they lost people there. They're not a part of the memorials. Then eventually, during the last series of events with the Afghanistan and Iraq event, they came up to us with people the actual participants at the events said, okay, my son was here in Afghanistan, lost. We got 3 names there. We put them on our cards, and we started reading them before they put up the new monument that had the 3 people who were lost for that event. And now they're in a little monument in front of the other monuments and so forth. And we'll do them as a continuation on there. We're also looking at the preparations for putting up a U.S. Space Service flag up there. I just found out that there's an individual's son who's a part of the U.S. Space Force.
Oh, wow.
So we'll look into getting his name in the future, and if possible, we'll add a card for him. You know, just saying he's part of it now, and if he ever fights the Russians, the Chinese in space, or the aliens, well, we'll have another Area 51 in Oshkosh or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can remember talking with Larry back in the day, and too often people will fly down Ohio Street, go past these monuments, and they really don't see them. And I can remember Larry saying that he would, to himself, he would read the names aloud, in recognition of you gave the sacrifice, and this is due. And it's amazing how it's grown.
yes,
And I really encourage people to attend this program, because it hits you. It really hits you, and I don't think people realize how many lives were lost, especially with World War II, Vietnam, Korea, right from this area, and we got to remember them.
yes. Well, Larry also started out with a binder.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
With all the names within that binder, and that asks people to read off 10 names from here,
Yep.
from there, and so forth. And I came up with the idea. Well, I've got some blank 5x8 cards on both sides, so I started putting names on these cards, 10 at a time, sometimes a little shorter, depending on the list and stuff. Sometimes a little longer, and gave the people the option of holding on to those cards, especially if they were related or knew somebody.
Oh.
And with the Afghan vets, we let the
Very
the
personal.
people bring that up and said, hey, they're not out here yet, but you can have a card saying, yes, we did read your son's name at this event.
Wow. Yeah. Again, it's just a wonderful event, and again, it is at South Park, right on the corner. Begins at 7.
Yes.
So yeah, please be there. So, and again, we're very flexible.
Oh, yes.
Hey, there's a nice picture.
Yes.
But if you need to head out,
Yes, okay. Well, we read the Logan's order and stuff like that, and we have people playing the taps,
yep,
Kenneth Walker and so forth, and we try to get some of the people from the schools, the Boy Scouts to come out. It all depends on the flexibility, and it's been a little difficult with COVID the last
yeah.
few years too. Okay, I have to go. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, watch out! You're. We are very flexible. We Rod has a 3:30 to go to, but we had to get him in the front end of the program because needed to talk about reading of the names. So God bless you. Thank you for all that you do, Rodney, and thank you for your service in the Marine Corps.
All right.
Whoop. Well, Dave, now you got to put up with me.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, it is a very busy day, and so we start off again with reading of the names. We get down there 7 o'clock, and then we begin. I believe it is 8 o'clock with the lakefront.
8 o'clock.
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Wait a sec. I think the slide's going to pop up in a sec. But there is, yeah, okay, so you have reading of the names at 7, and then 8 a.m. is laying of the wreath for those lost at sea. Can you fill us in a little bit about that, Dave? Or?
This is again set up by the Patriotic Council. We start probably right after Veterans Day in November. We start meeting, getting Memorial Day set.
You know what? I am going to segue just a little bit on this one before we go too much into other things. I want to talk about the Oshkosh Patriotic Council, and that being because what happens. Okay, you're a citizen here in Oshkosh. You know that Monday morning, you and the family, you're going to grab some chairs. You're going to go on and set them up on this route, and things are going to happen. But it just doesn't occur. I mean, there's a lot of planning. And the Oshkosh Patriotic Council, if you could talk a little bit about this, because there's actually a group that plans Veterans Day and Memorial Day. So there's a lot involved with that. So, Dave, if you want to talk about that real quick.
Well, I don't know the history, how far back it went, but the Marine Corps League, the AMVETS, DAV, the Legion, and the VFW. I think I covered them all.
Right.
I think there's 5. Each veterans organization has it for 2 years.
Yep.
That
A
they're
busy
the
2
president.
years.
It's a busy 2 years. Right now, and the Vietnam Vets of America, which Dwayne Cannon is now the president.
Yeah, because I should say Dave was very kind of filling Dwayne Cannon with VVA. He's the commander, the president.
Yeah.
And he had another event to be at. And so, Dave, you were very kind jumping in as a vice commander with the VFW to kind of fill us in the day.
Yeah. And he said, get all dressed up and stuff.
Oh, you look good
No,
today, man.
I'm kidding. I just came from a funeral, so
Yeah.
otherwise I'd be a little less
Oh, no,
stressy.
look great.
Thank you. But yeah, it's a 2-year. You're the president for 2 years of that organization. I'm the vice president. We'll be taking over in a year and a half. So the VFW will have it, and then it just follows down the line. I think AMVETS are after us, then the Legion, and DAV.
I think DAV's in there
somewhere in it,
but it's a good, but that's one of the things I think is neat, though, with the veterans organizations. We play well together. We really do. And it's all about, the veterans. It's all about, especially Memorial Day, it's about the ultimate sacrifice and making sure we got it right and that we're honoring them. And so, with that Oshkosh Patriotic Council, I think it may go back kind of post-Civil War, World War One-ish, I think. I don't know. But yeah, it literally, with, besides the break of the holidays, that, Thanksgiving, New Year's time period, the group is meeting constantly.
Yes.
Just to kind of, because there's a lot of details. I mean, I can remember when DAV had it, and having to get the route approved and worked through, and that's amazing.
It takes a lot of planning. You do have kind of the checklist to go from year after year. It gets, I want to say, easier, but you have it down pat after a while. So since we have it in 2 years, or a year and a half now, I know what's happening, and I'll follow along and go, oh, okay, this has to happen, this has to happen. And the checklists kind of get a little bit longer. But yeah, there's a lot of planning involved.
Because I know it has to go before one of the city committees for the route to get approved, and then you've got to work with the police department, sheriff's department, all the different groups, to make sure everything is right. Or like you had last year, and I wasn't there for that. I was down in Milwaukee at another Memorial Day event, but then last year you had a detour. And that had to be something to work through. But that is a good point, though, too, is we are back to normal this year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It starts again at Jackson and Jackson.
Yeah, if you could pop that slide. There we go.
Corner of Jackson and Algoma, 9 a.m. it starts.
Yep.
And it ends at Riverside Cemetery. The ceremony usually begins around 10:30. So. it depends on when you get done speaking, because you're the master of ceremonies. So
Yeah, but wait a second, isn't it the Memorial Day Parade?
yeah, no,
Whoa,
it's a procession.
and that is a good point. Explain the difference, because it's not a parade.
It's not.
July 4th is a parade,
It's a parade.
but it's a procession.
It's
Why?
a procession. It's honoring those who have perished,
Yep.
who are deceased. That's why they don't throw candy. There's no political
Yep.
persuasions in there, and
Yeah.
it's strictly they have bands and military organizations in the schools. That's about it. And
Yeah, it's very limited.
it's at the end we have
Tom
Poklasny, Tom
Yeah,
Goddard,
yeah.
and he drives the hearse, and that's what it's all about. So
Yeah, and I think that's so important to stress is Memorial Day is not a parade,
Right.
and you're not going to see elected officials, people throwing candy, floats or whatever. It's very somber. It's in some ways, because you think about it, it is a funeral procession. Because where does it end? At the cemetery.
Yep.
And one of the things I always like to share with people is with Memorial Day, the procession is not the event. The actual event is the cemetery.
Yep.
And this is like Mike's stuff, I'll just say, but I struggle when, I see a city of 60,000 and you go to the cemetery and there's like 300 people.
Yep.
I'll take the hit on this for saying it. And I just think that is really the critical one where, if I can share with our viewers out there, come down to the cemetery, be there at 10:30, take that time to honor, because that's a big moment. And I realize there may be some other things going on. Not everybody can make it, and I get that, but that's really the one to be at. But what about the procession route itself? Could you, Jake, could you throw up some of the pictures or some of the tapes of previous Memorial Days? Yeah, and it's a good point, because you'll see Marine Corps League always looks sharp. They always
Yep.
kick it off. You got the Sheriff's Department.
Yep.
Now, is that Legion?
Legion. Yep.
Oh,
And that's the VFW band,
yeah, that's the band.
and we're usually right before them.
Oh, this
those
always
guys.
goes over well.
Yeah.
The Civil War reenactors, I think
Yeah.
Company E, right? I believe it is Company E. Military Veterans Museum. And they sometimes will have 2-3 vehicles.
Oh yeah. This
And those always go over well. Brutus
Yeah.
is a gun truck that was used in Vietnam to actually break up ambushes. And I believe
was
that's
AMVETS.
AMVETS, yeah. Elks. And that's something important to share too. There are groups that support veterans, such as the Boy Scouts,
Yep.
the Elks, and so forth. And I'm trying, okay. Yeah, Marine Corps League. Okay, it's kind of, but the other thing I think that's happened too, I have to say, just an observation, but a lot of us were marching 10 years ago, but more of us are taking the vehicles and the trucks now.
Yeah, and that happened last year. I had back surgery, so I couldn't march, and then you were
I was
down
in
in
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, so they said, hey, as long as you're not marching, can you announce? And I went, sure.
Yeah. Well, actually, a fun thing this year that we're doing. First off, I want to say with Oshkosh Community Media, they are so supportive of our veterans. Be it the show we're in right now, they always cover Veterans Day, and I can still remember back in the day, Scott being outside at some pretty cold ceremonies at the Winnebago County Courthouse. And they always do a nice job of covering Memorial Day. And so actually my spouse Julie and I I always like to say we'll be kind of doing the play-by-play of the procession itself. But I just a salute to Oshkosh Community Media for just having been so supportive. So how are we looking right now? And I need to say, as of this taping, there's going to be some ebb and flow because we still have a meeting in May yet.
Yep.
We still have another almost 6 weeks as of this taping, so there'll be some. But what you have now, how are things looking for the ceremony at the cemetery itself? What are you thinking about?
Well, we just
10:30, hopeful start time.
yeah, again, whenever you get down there.
Yeah.
So we did have a speaker who had prior commitments and backed out just before our last meeting, and Dwayne Cannon was lucky enough to get the chief of police. I believe his name is Mike Stanley.
Yeah, fire chief.
Fire chief.
Fire
that's
chief.
it. What did I say?
I got to meet him at Cabin Fever 3 in a DAV event, and he is quite the guy.
Yeah.
And just very dynamic individual. I think he's going to share some great thoughts with us, so
Yep.
it's going to be nice to have him there.
I met him. I stopped down to the police station a couple weeks ago I got a fire permit, and then I stopped down to look at the wall that they put up.
Yeah.
Very impressive. If nobody's seen it, you can go down there, hopefully when there's not a fire, and you can go in there and look at it. The public can go in there and look at
Well,
it.
and I think for the Oshkosh Fire Department, and I'm a 9/11 guy, is that I don't think there was a lot being done with 9/11, and I think they've been picking up some of that with their monument and so forth. So
Yeah, and this is the fire station on CP, I should.
yeah, so yeah, we're really encouraging people
Yeah.
to check out the fire station, CP Avenue, because they have a really nice
Yeah.
9/11 tribute and veterans tribute there.
Right.
So,
And-
but in the meantime, we're going to have him as our speaker.
And that's when I met him.
Wow.
All of a sudden they said, hey, he's a veteran too. So
Wow.
so I met him there. It was very nice.
That's
Nice
great.
guy,
That's
so it should
great.
be
So
fun.
he'll be our speaker.
Yeah.
And then I heard we got Frankie Joe is going to be
Yep.
Frankie Joe Moscato.
Yep. I forgot who called her and stuff. I want to say Jeff Bedward
Yeah.
from the
Yep.
Ambets
Yep. Jeff did.
called her. We got her, and we have
And
a
she's with-
bagpiper.
she was a golden ticket winner with American Idol.
Yep.
And so she'll be doing the some of this songs down there.
Yes. And they were, along with Lisa Zemlach, she'll be playing taps both at the Riverside and at the
Wow.
ceremony at the cemetery. And she's actually the director of the VFW band. So,
Wow.
but they got a bagpiper to proceed in as they do the dirge, which is a kind of a funeral song to lead into the ceremony.
Wow.
And I
Who
believe
do
she's
you
going
have, just out of curiosity,
Okay.
I don't know if you have that yet, but for Logan's Order, I know usually we have Company E, one of the volunteers do it. Do they still do that? Or
they hadn't gotten back to them yet,
okay.
and they were going to check on that. We'll find out
Right. Well,
at our next.
this is a running operation right now, but usually we would have like one of the Civil War reenactors do. Because what happened with Memorial Day, actually, it was General John Logan. It was called Logan's Order, and that is actually what started the decoration of the graves. And this was post-Civil War, and my understanding is in the South, they were decorating the graves of Confederate soldiers with flowers, and he kind of observed that and said, this might be a good idea for healing. And so he kind of put that out. And it's amazing, 2023, we will read General John Logan's Order.
Yep.
And so forth. So it's amazing. So,
Yeah, and they usually have one of the Civil War reenactors read it.
Yeah.
But they still have to. There's still some kinks that we have to work out.
Oh, yeah.
Getting the chairs down onto the.
Well,
table and stuff.
but that's why it's fun to have a show like this, where you can have some of the discussion where there are a lot of moving parts to Memorial Day itself. And it's folks like you being on that Oshkosh Patriotic Council, weeks, months prior to the actual event are working on this thing to make sure it happens so that when people put out their lawn chairs on Algoma Boulevard, boom, it happens.
Yeah.
Or when they go down to the event 10:30 at the cemetery,
It's there.
everything pulls off.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of people involved. I mean, every veterans organization is involved in this, in the Patriotic Council. The Vietnam Vets of America take care of the procession, lining it up. They do the 4th of July parade also, but they've been doing it now for years, so it's kind of getting old hat for them, I hope, but they do a good job. They do a good job.
What'll actually happen when I've emceed in the past, Dwayne Cannon and I are pretty good friends, and so he's on my, we'll cell phone each other, and he'll give a call, and he'll be way in the back, and he's going, Mike, we've started, and we'll be up in 10 minutes, and so, and he'll kind of fill me in by cell phone, so then, we'll be put in the position where we sound like smart guys when we're on the TV, but it's actually Dwayne in the background that's kind of keeping us all going.
Yeah,
so.
it's again, there's a lot of people involved in this, so it's.
Well, and then even, your auxiliary police are out that day, and so it is amazing. Got to ask a personal question. What does a Memorial Day mean to you? What does it mean to Dave?
To me, it means honoring the people that have passed away before us. It's very emotional. It's just a way to honor them. So, it's an emotional day.
It is. We'll pass the Kleenex between each other right now. But no, it is. It is emotional. It, for me, it takes me back to those who served prior generations, and then it takes me back to those who, have lost their lives during service, and it's something you never really forget. So, and things I like to share with the public that's really important. If you're there's other activities or you're struggling with things time-wise, I get it. But what I would encourage you to do, take your family, take the kids, go down to, let's say, Riverside Cemetery or a cemetery nearby, take a couple of flowers with you. You'll be able to see the veterans' graves. They kind of stand out. And just read the name aloud and place a flower or two there. And that means a lot. For me, that would mean a lot. And so if you're able to do that, that's what it's about. That's what makes it as Americans. Hey, we got like 20 seconds left. We got to wrap up. So real quick, we are looking at Veterans Day, 7 in the morning, reading of the names. 8 o'clock, we have the wreath laying for those lost at sea, which is by the Oshkosh Convention Center. 9 p.m.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Yeah, it'd be a late one. 9 a.m. is when things kick off for the procession.
Right.
And then 10:30 itself, please come to the Riverside Cemetery and be at the ceremony. That wraps up this edition of the Outpost. Dave, thank you for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.